Hi lovelies, you're welcome back. So today we'll be discussing about a virtual assistant. This is our first step into our lessons. So for today we'll be discussing about a virtual assistant. We'll be answering the question, who is a virtual assistant? What are the requisite skills he or she is expected to have? And what are the tasks a virtual assistant undertakes? If you don't understand the tasks a virtual assistant undertakes, you might actually think that anybody can be a virtual assistant, or having a virtual assistant is not important. So today we'll be understanding who a virtual assistant is, the tasks he or she takes or the tasks he or she performs in an organization or for a client, and also the requisite skills he or she should have. Now, let's get started. The first question, who is a virtual assistant? A virtual assistant is an employed or self-employed personnel that provides administrative, creative, and technical support or assistance to his client or to an organization. He or she is an employed or self-employed person that provides administrative support, that provides creative support and technical support for his client or an organization that has employed him or her. Now, what are the tasks a virtual assistant undertakes, or the tasks a virtual assistant performs? Now, the tasks a virtual assistant performs are: one, calendar management. A virtual assistant ensures that his or her clients do not get to skip important dates or meetings simply because they do not remember. That is why a virtual assistant is important, because once you have a meeting scheduled in the future with a client or with a top investor for your organization, now you inform your virtual assistant. Your virtual assistant is to ensure that that date is entered in your calendar, and the virtual assistant will also share it with you. Only a virtual assistant that can do this. That is why a virtual assistant is important. Also, a virtual assistant undertakes research tasks. If it is an organization that is into business, now they need to understand who are their competitors, what are the market prices, and all of these things. It is a virtual assistant that does that. A virtual assistant actually handles that. Number three, a virtual assistant creates and plans your travel itineraries. A virtual assistant ensures that your appointments are well scheduled. A virtual assistant ensures that during your meetings, you don't get to hustle for who will write the minutes, because a virtual assistant is there to take care of writing of your minutes. Now, a virtual assistant also helps you upfront for your meeting with your agenda. So you don't enter a meeting and start stuttering. You don't know what to say because your agenda is not handy. But with a virtual assistant, he or she undertakes that task. A virtual assistant also handles your project. Project management is one of the tasks a virtual assistant also handles. A virtual assistant undertakes data entry tasks. A virtual assistant also undertakes social media management. That's why you see most bloggers, they have handlers. They have people that ensure that their social media presence is active. Also, a virtual assistant ensures that while handling a client's online business or a client's social media page or handle, the virtual assistant ensures that the reputation of that brand is not tarnished in the online space. That is one of the tasks a virtual assistant. The tasks are endless. Seriously, the tasks a virtual assistant undertakes are endless. A virtual assistant is more like the brain box of a company. Now you are the CEO of an organization, or you are an employer of labor. Your virtual assistant ensures that you focus on being more productive with your work while handling these tasks for you. If you are employer of labor or you are the CEO of a company, you will be overwhelmed with trying to keep up with your meetings. How do I remember this meeting? How do I do this? How do I do that? A lot of questions will be left unanswered. But with a virtual assistant, it is simple. The virtual assistant ensures that you concentrate on being more productive at work while handling your tasks. Now, the skills that are requisite for a virtual assistant to have are technical skills. These technical skills, you can also call them hard skills. Technical skills and soft skills. Now, technical skills are the skills that will land you a job as a virtual assistant. Technical skills talks about what you know how to do. As a virtual assistant, I know how to manage the calendar of a client. I know how to do this. I know how to. That is technical skills. But your soft skills will keep you in the job. Your soft skills is the driving force why you are being kept at that job. Your soft skills entails your people skills, how you relate with people. It also entails how you relate with your colleagues at work. It also entails how you relate with your team. So your soft skills are the skills that will keep you in your job. Now, some of the technical skills a virtual assistant should have can also be classified as the tasks a virtual assistant should do. Like, if a virtual assistant is undertaking calendar management as a job, now that task can also be equated to the skills, the technical skills. Some of the technical skills are the ability to use Microsoft Office, the ability to use Google Workspace, the ability to use Trello, Asana to execute projects, and also to be able to relate with your teams. So the technical skills will land you this job, but your communication, your soft skills will keep you at the job. Now, we'll be talking about soft skills. What are the soft skills that are requisite for a virtual assistant? Number one, we have effective communication. Now, people will tell you the soft skills you need is communication. But for me, I'll tell you effective communication, because it's one thing to communicate and it's another thing to communicate effectively. Now, communication is not just about talking. No, you're just talking. No, communication is being able to pass a message across. Now, when you're communicating, the information you're relating to the person must be concise, it must be concrete, you must do so in a cautious manner. Also, the information must be accurate. So, effective communication is the main deal. Effective communication also entails that, well, when a client or your employer or even a customer is talking with you, you listen. And how do you listen? You listen by ensuring that you pay close and rapt attention, maintaining eye contact. A virtual assistant, you work remotely. Yes, we know that. Now, when you are in a meeting, maybe with your client is trying to relay an information to you. As a virtual assistant, the client is not supposed to be talking with you, though you guys are doing it with through a virtual platform like Zoom or Google Meet. Now, a client is not supposed to be talking with you and then you're looking around, trying to get some things done. No, that is not what a good virtual assistant will do. A good virtual assistant will maintain eye contact. Now, when the person is talking with you, is either you nod to show that, okay, I am with you, I understand you, I get what you're saying. That is how to communicate effectively with your client or with your employer or even with any other person you come across during your day-to-day activities. Also, when you're talking with a client or anybody at all in the course of executing your job, they don't just finish talking and then you hang up. Let's say the person is passing a message to you. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want it to be done. They don't just finish talking and then you hang up. No, you don't just hang up. You have to reiterate what you said to the person, so he or she will know that, okay, this person understood me. And if there is any ambiguity, they now have to clear up the ambiguity. That is just what effective communication entails. Secondly, we'll talk about time management. We know that there are only 24 hours in a day. Now, if we go by saying time is not enough, nobody can brag, especially busy people. Nobody can brag and say 24 hours is enough. Personally, 24 hours is not enough for me. However, that is where time management comes in. Time management is the ability to be able to ensure that whatever thing you've mapped out to do in a day, you execute them within the stipulated time. Time is not enough. Time is money. You don't just allow time to while away like that. No, you ensure that what you have planned to do in a day, you do it. You ensure that you execute that task or whatever thing you have planned to do in a day for yourself, you do it. That is why a good VA is important. Also, we have confidentiality and discretion. As a virtual assistant, you will work with top executives, you will work with top officials, you will work with CEOs, you will work with a lot of persons. In fact, you can even have the opportunity of knowing the revenue of a company. That is where confidentiality comes in. A good virtual assistant must have confidentiality as a requisite skill. You are not supposed to expose sensitive information about your clients to the public or even to a third party. You're not supposed to expose sensitive information about your client or your employer to another person. It might not be to the public, but another person, another ear should not hear it, not even your family. That information is not important to them. Okay, you're working with a company that makes $15 million a year, or they make $15 million a month, and then you get to broadcast it. Do you know the company I'm working? No. Members of the public don't need that information. The person that is even living in the same house with you don't need that information. It is not meant for them. You must ensure that you have confidentiality as your watchword. Discretion is the ability to make sensitive decisions. You must be able to make sensitive decisions. For example, if you're a customer focused virtual assistant, discretion will help you to be able to make decisions that will influence the customers positively or your clients positively. You don't just make any decision anyhow simply because, oh, I'm a virtual assistant. No, that is why discretion is your watchword. Also, we have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is important. It's extremely important. Emotional intelligence will enable you feel the pain of others. Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage your own emotions, you understand your emotions, and also that of others. You understand your emotions, you are able to manage your emotions, and you also manage that of others. Now, when you have a customer that comes and the customer is filled with pain, maybe the customer got something from your company and then they are not satisfied with it. As a customer based or customer focused virtual assistant, you don't go about saying, what is the worth? Why are you making so much noise? What is the worth of the goods you bought? No. You must be able to understand that this person feels pain. And you should know that on your own, if the tables were to be turned and you were to be the customer, you will be pained. And you would need somebody to vent to. You need somebody to understand the pain. That is why emotional intelligence is important. When he or she has emotional intelligence as a skill, the person would have empathy. The person will show empathy to people and to anyone around them. Now, the success of being a virtual assistant is not just trying to be a good virtual assistant. You must be a proactive virtual assistant. You must be a proactive virtual assistant. This is important. A proactive virtual assistant and not a reactive virtual assistant. Now, a proactive virtual assistant is more like saying this person is a seer, this person is a soothsayer. Now, the proactive virtual assistant envisages the needs of his client or employer or even the needs of an organization before that need arises. Now, let's say, for example, as a virtual assistant, you work remotely. Now, your client has told you he has a meeting with Mr. Thomas on 10th March 2025. Now, you've done the normal calendar management stuff and also the regular thing you should do, which is remind the client about that meeting. Now, let's say that meeting is a virtual meeting. It's a virtual meeting. A proactive virtual assistant knows that before a meeting starts, after the regular pleasantries is exchanged and everything, before a meeting starts, the next thing is agenda. A proactive virtual assistant will draft the agenda of the meeting and show or relate to the client for the client to make adjustments or corrections. Now, a reactive virtual assistant will just wait for the meeting to start. Maybe on the day of the meeting, once the client has joined the meeting, you have joined the meeting, and then the client will now start asking you, hi VA, or if the VA's name is Grace, Grace, can we have the agenda, or can I have the agenda in my DM right away? And the virtual assistant is just running around, how will I do this agenda stuff and all of that? But a proactive virtual assistant will draft the agenda, send it to the client either through email, and then the client will make necessary adjustments. And after making necessary adjustments, relay it back to the VA. The VA will take notice of those adjustments and prepare a neat work. Also, a proactive virtual assistant know during the course of a meeting, minutes has to be taken, because those minutes will contain the agreements that were taken during the course of that meeting. So a proactive virtual assistant will get his or her notes ready in order to take minutes of the meeting. That is why a proactive virtual assistant is important. That is why you need to be a proactive virtual assistant. I hope you enjoyed this class. Also, if you have any question, you can put it in the comment section and I'll be more than willing to attend to all of them. Don't forget, you just have to be the best. You have to be the best. Everything we are doing is ensuring you become the best. We become the best. So don't forget, become a proactive virtual assistant. During the course of these trainings, like I promised us, I will take us through the journey of being a virtual assistant, and every day we'll be having tools, we'll be having lots and lots of discussions, even how to get hired as a virtual assistant, what you should do, what you should not do. Everything is geared towards being a proactive VA. Everything is geared towards being a proactive VA. So while going through these lessons, don't just take them as something that comes casually, or because you're not paying for it, you're not paying for the information you're getting, you can do as you please. No, no, please. Just take this information very important. I love you and I hope to see you succeed. That is my earnest prayer. That is my utmost desire, to see you succeed. I love you and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.